Hello everyone, how are you all doing today? Just wanted to say thank you for watching, and today I wanted to talk about January 6th and the recent hearings that just started airing last week, based on that horrific event that occurred on that date where a violent mob attacked the Capitol. It was an insurrection, it was a coup, let's be clear about that. And it's been pretty well publicized by most, if not all, the media networks. And as far as the hearings go, there was one in particular that decided they're not going to air it at all, which is, of course, you guessed it, Fox. Notice how I just address them as Fox, and I don't regard them as news, because news they are not. They are propagandists. They are just like talk shows giving their own opinion, which is very one-sided. And they're always going to support that one side regardless of what is right and wrong. And that is the point that I'm trying to make about right and wrong and about accountability. Since the first day of the hearings went live, they posted nothing but distractions, saying it was a know-nothing burger, rolling out all the typical excuses we've heard time and time again that have all been pretty much debunked. It wasn't Antifa, it wasn't Black Lives Matter, it wasn't just a mild mob that and it certainly wasn't a tour guide either. It was an insurrection. And what we've seen during the hearing, this has all been perpetrated by a lie, that the election was stolen, which it was not. And the person responsible for that, the head in charge, continues to keep pushing that lie over and over. And let's just face it, he's going to keep doing that till his dying grave. But unfortunately, he has a good amount of sycophants in the Republican Party that continue to push this lie as well, because to them, that's their key to staying in power. That's their key to staying amongst the core voters that support him. Again, nothing to do with right and wrong. They know this. They definitely know this without a doubt. But again, it's without shame. They are morally bankrupt. It's not about ethics. Again, they know the difference between right and wrong. They just don't care. They're only out for themselves and to continue pushing this agenda. And what's worse, they're actually attempting it again as we speak, I will get into in just a moment. Even during the hearings, they had testimony from William Barr and even some of Trump's family, like his son-in-law, Jared Kushner, and his own daughter, Ivanka, that sided more with Bill Barr on what he said, that as he told it, as far as, voter fraud, the election being stolen, Barr quoted it as bullshit, which is exactly what it was. But of course, that's about accepting the truth, something Donald Trump is never going to do. And here's a certain example I kind of gave to one Trump supporter that I was talking to a while back, which I have no problem talking to them. And that, I want to say, for the record, they did find voter fraud, very, very, very small amounts. Not enough to sway the election in any way, but just to, And should these people be held accountable? Absolutely. In some instances, they found out that they were Republican voters voting illegally on behalf for Trump. One person voted twice using his wife's name, who was deceased. And like I said, they should be held accountable. But there was not a widespread voter fraud on such a scale that would have overturned the election results. Joe Biden won, Donald Trump lost. That is the simple fact. For all you still clinging to this lie, get over it. You need to move on. And as I was about to say, to put it in a different perspective, a different point of view, here's an example which I used on this one particular Trump supporter that I was talking to, is that let's turn the clock back to 2016. As I mentioned in the title, Hillary Clinton, though she has nothing to do with the hearings, she lost the election in 2016 to Donald Trump. We all know that. There's no question about that. Even though one particular person, I'm not going to say who, claimed that the election was rigged, but oh, hey, it's okay, we won. So I guess voter fraud is only an issue when it affects you negatively. If it affects you positively, then we give it a pass. Anyhow, let's say during up to the election, when they started posting some of the pollings and the Electoral College votes that so far was going in Donald Trump's favor, and Hillary just kept saying over and over again the same exact line, the same exact method, that it's rigged, the election's being stolen, or, even though the votes hadn't been fully tallied, she would say, if you counted all the legal votes, you'll see that I won this by a landslide, which was obviously not true. And then, on the day of the certification, January 6, 2016, she goes to DC and organizes a bunch of all her supporters, all waving signs and Hillary flags and pictures of her and other bogus slogans like "Stop the Steal." And they all march to the Capitol, where she tells them to fight like hell, take your country back. And they do so in a violent fashion, attacking the police, storming their way in, using pepper spray, bats, other miscellaneous weapons, and one of them who even brought a pipe bomb, if you recall, which was mentioned in the news. Go into the Capitol and do everything from, threatening the lives, sending a makeshift gallows with a noose, to hang the vice president, who back then was Joe Biden, as you all know, which is when the transition went from Obama to Trump. And also other atrocities like smearing, feces on the wall and stealing things, What would the Republican voters and the Republican politicians say? What would Fox say? They would be going ballistic. They would be saying she committed a crime, that she needs to be held accountable, that they should, quote, lock her up. And you know what? I would be inclined to agree with them. I would say, yeah, that sort of behavior is not acceptable within our political system, within our country, which we are a democracy and not a dictatorship. And we don't give in to insurrections or violent coups. That's the simple fact, and it's got to be accountability across the board, regardless, if it's a Republican or a Democrat. Because for me personally, I choose not to focus on party. I focus more on what is right and wrong. What happened on January 6th is wrong. Police officers died as a result of it. One capital city police officer was beaten to death. And even if it was just one cop that got killed, that is one cop too many. As far as I'm concerned, Donald Trump has blood on his hands. He is, by all definition, a cop killer. Maybe he didn't intend that, maybe he didn't want that to happen, but he definitely set it in motion to where police officers died as a result of it. But when you send an angry mob to commit such atrocities, what do you think is going to happen? And did he go there as he said he would? No, that was another lie. That was part of the plan. Keep in mind, this whole thing was planned and calculated. This wasn't just some random meeting where he just, out of the blue, ad-libbed and spouted all this. Curious to see what would happen. He put this into motion. We saw that in advance tweets and text messages. On the day of January 6th, you had members from Fox and other people within the Republican Party reaching out to Mark Meadows, telling him to tell Trump to stop this, to put an end to it, that it's going too far. Well, obviously he did not listen, and as a result, a police officer died, which at the very least would make him accountable or culpable. But again, Republicans don't want to hear that. They just want to, stay within Trump's good graces and, do that to stay in power. And in doing that, you're basically giving the insurrection a pass. This is what is called the start of fascism, such a hostile takeover, where you have an individual, an authoritarian-like figure that does not believe in democracy, but that will do anything he can within his power, and even bend and cheat and breaking the rules to stay within power. So, guarantee if the shoe was on the other foot, which is something I always like to do, we'd be seeing a whole different story from Fox and the GOP. And, it's a shame, because probably the best way to defeat this whole thing is to let the hearing run its course. Stop pushing the lies. Stop supporting this person, because in the end, he doesn't care about you, and the minute you show a slightest change in that support, you can see how easily and how quickly he turns on them. Okay? Because he doesn't care about them. They are merely tools to fulfill his agenda of corruption, his agenda of staying in control. Until they accept that, until they fully dismiss this guy, he's going to keep pushing that lie. And the other reality is that, yeah, they're afraid of losing favor to his base. Okay, I get that. But at the same time, in the end, if Donald Trump was pushed out of the equation for good, who's the base going to vote for? Are they going to vote for Democrats? No, they're going to vote for Republicans regardless. So it's all a part of just falling into this cult. And this whole example about Hillary Clinton, obviously it didn't convince the person I spoke to. It's not going to, because that's about accepting truth. That's about accepting reality. And we need to let these hearings take their course. I don't know how it's going to go in the end, how accountability is going to be presented, whether there will be criminal charges, not just to some of the people involved, but up to, including Donald Trump, the man that set this whole thing in motion. But I do know this much, that if you do nothing, if you allow nothing to happen, then guess what? It will happen again. It is happening again. We're just seeing it in a more subtle way, whereby there's a lot of voter suppression being going around with these new laws, because they believe that the lie that there is widespread voter fraud, which is not. Rights are being taken away. This is all part to help to get certain people in place so that if and when he does run again, he'll have a better chance of winning. So, as far as Donald Trump is concerned, he is by far the whiniest, the biggest sore loser I have ever seen, which is kind of something you would expect at this point. But even then, I would just say, he should just move on. Probably be a lot easier for him. But of course, that's never going to happen, because that requires an act of integrity. I know 13-year-old girls I've seen in competitive sports and other competitions who have lost and handled those losses with far more sportsmanship, dignity, and grace than Donald Trump ever will. Because by far they have something that he is in dire need of: character, and above all, class. He is what he is. You can lie and deny it all you want, but in the end, he is nothing more than a sore loser. Anyway, I hope you all understand, and thank you for watching.